Most growers squander April, sowing the same 5 crops everybody else grows, and then question why their summer yield is mediocre. Yet there are 15 plants, some exotic, some traditional, some you likely haven't considered, that when planted this very moment in April will completely revolutionize what your garden becomes by July, August, and September. And the top plant on this countdown? It's the one that will have your neighbors pause and gawk. The one your children will plead to go outside for, and most folks either sow it too late or cultivate it entirely incorrectly. We're exploring all 15 today with the precise hardiness zones, the proper techniques, and the insider secrets that most gardening channels simply overlook. Stick with me because every single one of these counts, and you cannot afford to miss a single one. First off, if you've been waiting for a signal to finally commit to your garden this spring, this is absolutely it. Smash that subscribe button. Harvest and health right now, because every day we're releasing fresh content that helps you cultivate more food, more beauty, and more confidence in your own backyard. No nonsense, no padding whatsoever. Now, let's dive in. Number 15, Cardinal Climber. Now, I know what you're thinking. A decorative vine on a planting roundup? Hear me out. If you have ever witnessed a Cardinal Climber at peak bloom, you already understand why it belongs here. This is a vigorous annual vine with delicate, almost fern-like foliage. And these miniature, perfect, trumpet-shaped blossoms that come in scarlet, pink, and white. Hummingbirds go absolutely wild for this plant. And the reason April is crucial for Cardinal Climber is because it requires a head start. In zones 4 through 6, you want to begin it indoors on a heating pad right now. In zones 7 through 11, you can direct seed once nighttime temperatures stay consistently above 50 degrees. This vine ascends aggressively. Fences, trellises, pergolas, and it occupies space that would otherwise appear empty all summer. If you've been hunting for vertical garden concepts, low maintenance, blooming vines, or pollinator-friendly plants for novices, Cardinal Climber earns a serious place in your April sowing schedule. Number 14, Cosmos. These are among the most underappreciated crops a home grower can direct sow in April. And if you're establishing a cut flower garden, Cosmos are absolutely essential. They're annuals, they're incredibly simple, and they generate an absolutely absurd quantity of blooms from midsummer all the way until frost. April is ideal for direct sowing in zones 5 through 9, zones 4 and below. Start them inside 4 weeks before your final frost date. Here's the technique most people overlook. Pinch your Cosmos early. When the plant reaches about a foot tall, pinch out the growing tip. Varieties like Sensation Mix, Cupcake Blush, and Xanthos are all solid performers. Search terms like cottage garden blooms, easy annual flowers for beginners, and cut flower garden inspiration all connect directly to Cosmos. Meaning, if you're a content creator, this is a high engagement subject. As a grower, it's just a ridiculously gratifying plant. Number 13, Roselle. If this is unfamiliar to you, pay attention because Roselle is genuinely one of the most thrilling plants you can cultivate in a home garden. It's in the hibiscus family. It appears absolutely breathtaking in a garden bed. And you cultivate it for its calices, the fleshy portion that forms around the seed pod after the blossom drops. Those calices taste like cranberry crossed with hibiscus, and you can craft teas, jams, syrups, and beverages that are loaded with antioxidants. In zones 8 through 11, direct sow Roselle in April once your soil reaches 65 degrees. In zones 5 through 7, start it indoors 6 to 8 weeks before your final frost. Roselle adores heat and needs an extended season. This crop taps into some seriously valuable search territory. Hibiscus tea plant. How to cultivate Roselle at home. Edible garden plants. Immune-boosting garden crops. It's gorgeous, it's practical, it's uncommon, and it makes your garden distinct from every single garden on your street. Number 12, peanuts. People forget that peanuts are a legume, not a tree nut, and they develop underground from a flower that actually pushes itself down into the earth after pollination. It's called a peg, and observing it happen is one of the coolest things in the vegetable patch. April is your opportunity. Direct sow peanuts after your final frost date in zones 6 through 11. They require full sun, well-drained soil, and 4 to 5 months of warm growing season. In the northern parts of Zone 5 and below, try the Northern Hardy Valencia variety. It was developed specifically for shorter seasons and performs beautifully. Plant shelled raw peanuts about 2 inches deep, 6 to 8 inches apart. This is also a nitrogen-fixing legume, meaning it actually enhances your soil while it grows. From a content and search perspective, cultivating peanuts at home, backyard protein crops, and unusual vegetables to cultivate in the garden are all strong, high RPM terms that drive genuine traffic. Number 11. Parsley. I know parsley sounds ordinary, but most people cultivate it incorrectly, and that is precisely why it belongs on this list. Parsley is notoriously sluggish to sprout. We're talking 2 to 4 weeks. And the single biggest improvement you can make is to soak your seeds in warm water for 24 hours before sowing. That one step reduces germination time nearly in half. For zones 4 through 9, April is your perfect timing. Broadcast sow into seed trays or shallow containers. Cover lightly and keep them consistently damp. Flat-leaf Italian parsley is your choice for cooking. Stronger flavor, more versatile in the kitchen, curly parsley is more decorative and honestly looks beautiful as a border plant. Here's something most people don't realize. Parsley is a host plant for swallowtail butterfly larvae. If you discover caterpillars on your parsley, leave them. You're raising butterflies. That story alone is worth sharing. Search terms like butterfly garden plants, herb garden for beginners, and how to cultivate parsley from seed all perform exceptionally well in this niche. Number 10. Okra. West African in origin, in the same family as hibiscus and roselle, and one of the most productive warm season vegetables you can cultivate once the heat arrives. Okra is a top performer in zones 7 through 11. Direct sow once your soil temperature reaches 65 to 70 degrees, or in zones 5 and 6. Start indoors 3 to 4 weeks before last frost and transplant carefully because okra does not appreciate root disturbance. The variety Clemson Spineless is your best choice if you have sensitive skin. Standard okra pods are covered in tiny spines that can cause serious irritation during harvest, and Clemson Spineless eliminates that problem entirely. Plant in full sun, give it consistent water, and harvest every single day once it begins producing. Pods left on the plant even one day too long become woody and inedible. The keywords growing okra in containers, warm season vegetable garden, and productive summer vegetables drive strong engagement in the gardening space. Number 9. Basil. The undisputed king of the summer herb garden. If you cultivate tomatoes, and we'll get to tomatoes, you need basil. It's not optional. Start basil indoors 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost in zones 4 through 7. In zones 8 through 11, direct sow once your soil reaches 60 degrees. The secret to keeping basil productive all season is one word: pinch. Every time a flower stem begins to form, pinch it off immediately. Once basil bolts and goes to seed, the flavor drops dramatically and the plant begins shutting down. Pinch it back and it just keeps pushing new growth all summer. Genovese is your classic pesto basil. Thai basil is incredible in stir-fries and summer rolls. Lemon basil makes cocktails and teas that will blow people's minds. Companion planting basil with tomatoes is one of the most searched topics in the entire gardening niche. And for good reason. The combination is practically magic both in the garden and on the plate. Number 8. Bush beans. You want an easy victory this April. This is it. Bush beans are among the single most productive, lowest effort direct sow crops you can put in the ground right now. No trellising, no staking, no complicated soil preparation. Sow 1 inch deep every 6 inches in rows 12 inches apart. They're ready in 50 to 60 days. Here's the strategy that most home growers don't implement. Succession plant. Put in a row now, another row 2 weeks from now, another row 2 weeks after that. You'll be harvesting fresh beans continuously from June all the way through August instead of getting one massive glut and then nothing. Blue Lake 274 is a classic, reliable, heavy producer. Provider is your choice if you're dealing with cooler, unpredictable spring weather. It germinates in soil as cool as 50 degrees. In zones 4 through 9, April is perfect. In zones 10 and 11, you actually want to be wrapping up your spring bean planting before summer heat arrives. High RPM keywords, easy vegetables for beginners, high-yield vegetable garden, spring vegetable planting guide. Bush beans check every single box. Number 7. Cucumber. There are 3 types of cucumber you need to know. Tasty green is your Japanese-style slicing cucumber. So, long, thin, almost burpless, and incredibly productive on a trellis. Space Master 80 was literally bred for container gardening. It stays compact and absolutely dominates in a pot on a patio or balcony. Armenian cucumber is your heat-tolerant powerhouse. Technically a melon, but consumed like a cucumber, and it laughs at summer temperatures that stress out other varieties. In zones 5 through 9, direct sow cucumbers in April once the soil reaches 60 degrees. They're fast. Most varieties go from seed to harvest in 55 to 65 days. Grow them vertically. A simple trellis doesn't just save space, it actually improves air circulation, reduces disease pressure, and makes harvesting dramatically easier. Container gardening vegetables, vertical garden ideas, and cucumber growing tips are all strong performing search terms in this niche. Number 6, summer squash and zucchini. Here is the reality about zucchini. A well-grown plant in a good location will outproduce almost anything else in your garden. The key is planting method. Dig a hole, fill it with compost, mound it up slightly, and plant your squash in that mound. This gives roots immediate access to rich nutrition and ensures drainage. Then harvest at multiple stages. Baby squash at 4 to 6 inches are tender and sweet. Full-size squash at 8 inches are perfect for roasting and stuffing. Giant squash that got away from you, hollow it out, stuff it with rice and cheese, and bake it. You can even eat the blossoms in a quesadilla. Stuff them with ricotta and fry them, and you will never look at your garden the same way again. Emerald Delight, Romanesco, and Max's Gold are 3 varieties that will keep your harvest interesting all summer. Zones 4 through 10, direct sow in April after last frost. Zucchini growing tips, summer squash recipes, garden fresh, and productive vegetable garden are all strong content pillars here. Number 5, pumpkin. April feels early for a fall crop, and that's precisely the point. Pumpkins take anywhere from 90 to 120 days to mature depending on the variety. And if you want those gorgeous pumpkins ready for fall, you need to start in spring. Nick the edge of the seed coat with a nail file before planting. This sounds minor. It is not minor. It dramatically accelerates germination by allowing moisture to penetrate the hard outer shell faster. Plant 3 seeds per mound 1 inch deep. Once they sprout, thin to the 2 strongest plants. If you want one absolutely massive pumpkin for competitions, for carving, for the pure joy of it, let one vine grow and remove all but one pumpkin from that vine. Every bit of the plant's energy goes into that one fruit and it will get enormous. Atlantic Giant is your choice for size. Sugar Pie for eating, zones 4 through 9. Get pumpkins in the ground this April. Keywords: how to cultivate pumpkins from seed. Fall garden planting schedule. Giant pumpkin growing tips. Number 4, corn. The corn is the crop that humbles home growers because it looks simple and then fails for one completely avoidable reason. Corn is wind pollinated. It does not pollinate itself. Plant to plant through insects. It relies on pollen falling from the tassel at the top of the plant down onto the silk of ears on neighboring plants. If you plant corn in a single long row, you will get poorly developed ears with missing kernels because the wind doesn't carry pollen efficiently that way. You must plant in a block. Minimum 4 rows by 4 rows every 6 to 12 inches. 1 to 2 seeds 1 inch deep. Fill the entire block and your pollination will be excellent. Sweet corn for fresh eating. Try Honey Select or Peaches and Cream. Popcorn for a completely different harvest experience. Robust yellow hullus is outstanding. Your ornamental flint corn like glass gem for the most visually stunning ears you have ever seen in your life. Zones 5 through 9. Direct sow in April after last frost. Block planting vegetables, how to cultivate sweet corn, and backyard corn are all high engagement search terms. Number 3, tomatoes. There is no April planting video that is complete without tomatoes. This is the crop that converts people into gardeners, and for good reason. Start transplants indoors 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date, or purchase starts from a local nursery in April for zones 5 through 9. In zones 9 and 10, your spring tomato season is already underway. Focus on heat-tolerant varieties. The indeterminate varieties are your workhorses for a continuous harvest all season. Cherokee Purple for incredible complex flavor, or San Marzano for the best homemade sauce you will ever make. Sun Gold Cherry Tomato for the sweetest, most addictive snacking tomato on the planet. One critical step before transplanting: harden off your seedlings. Move them outside for a few hours each day for 1 week before putting them in the ground permanently. Skipping this step causes transplant shock and sets your plants back by 2 to 3 weeks. Bury tomatoes deep up to 2/3 of the stem underground. New roots will form all along that buried stem and you will get a stronger, more drought-tolerant plant. How to cultivate tomatoes for beginners. Best tomato varieties, home garden, and tomato growing secrets are some of the highest RPM keywords in the entire gardening content space. This crop belongs on every list in every garden every single year. Number 2, sweet potato. Most people plant sweet potatoes incorrectly from the very beginning because they try to plant the whole potato. You don't. You plant slips, rooted cuttings taken from a sprouting sweet potato. Here's the technique. Take a sweet potato, place it halfway submerged in a container of moist potting mix on a heat mat, and put it in a warm, sunny spot. Within 2 to 3 weeks, it will begin pushing up green shoots. Once those shoots are 4 to 6 inches tall, twist them off, put them in a glass of water, and in 3 to 5 days they'll have roots. Those are your slips. Transplant them after your last frost date. Sweet potatoes need soil consistently above 60 degrees to thrive. Zones 5 through 11, April is your window to begin the slip production process. Once you plant them, they basically look after themselves. The vines sprawl. They look beautiful as a ground cover, and underneath the soil a massive harvest is quietly building. You eat the roots. You can eat the leaves sautéed in olive oil, and the whole plant is productive. Long-season productive vegetables, sweet potato slips for sale, and how to cultivate sweet potatoes at home are all strong performing search and content terms. And now, number 1, watermelon. I told you at the beginning, this was the plant that makes neighbors stop and stare. The plant your children will beg you to let them harvest. The plant that when you cut it open outside on a hot August afternoon with juice running down your hands, makes every hour you spent in the garden feel completely worth it. Cultivating your own watermelon from seed to harvest is one of the most satisfying things a home grower can do. Here's how you do it right. Plant a compost amended mound with a slight depression or volcano divot in the center. This traps water right at the root zone instead of running off. Watermelons are heavy feeders early on, so amend with a nitrogen-heavy fertilizer for the first few weeks to push strong vine growth. Then once the plant begins flowering, switch to a phosphorus and potassium-focused fertilizer to encourage fruit development. Keep soil consistently moist. Irregular watering causes blossom and rot problems and split fruit. Sugar Baby is your compact variety. It produces 8 to 10-pound melons and does beautifully in smaller spaces or even large containers. Charleston Gray is your traditional large watermelon, massive, incredibly sweet, and a serious garden showstopper. Mountain Sweet Yellow gives you something unexpected, golden flesh, unusually sweet, and it will confuse and delight everyone who tries it. Zones 5 through 10, direct sow in April or start indoors 2 to 3 weeks before last frost. Full sun is non-negotiable. Watermelons want 8 hours minimum, and they will reward you for every extra hour they get. How to cultivate watermelon at home. Best watermelon varieties for home garden, summer vegetable garden tips. These are all strong search terms, but more than the keywords, watermelon is just the ultimate payoff crop. It's the reason you began this garden in the first place. There you have it. 15 crops that will make your April the most productive planting month you have ever had. Cardinal climber ascending your fences, Cosmos filling your cutting garden, Roselle making the most beautiful teas you've ever tasted, jar peanuts quietly fixing nitrogen underground while they build you protein, Parsley feeding butterflies, Okra taking over come August, Basil making every tomato meal taste 10 times better, bush beans feeding you for weeks on end, cucumbers climbing vertically, Zucchini producing more than you ever expected, pumpkins building silently toward fall, corn standing tall in its blocks, tomatoes giving you the most rewarding harvest in home gardening, sweet potatoes storing energy all summer for a giant fall dig, and watermelon. The one crop you will cultivate once and never stop cultivating. Your garden has the potential to be incredible this year. Not because of luck, because you began at the right time with the right crops, with the right information. That is what separates an average garden from an extraordinary one. If you got value from this video, hit subscribe because we are just getting started this season. Every day week is a new video, new crops, new tips, new reasons to get your hands in the soil. Drop a comment below and tell me which crop on this list you are most excited to cultivate. I read every single one. Now go plant something.